I don't know, this is just kind of a little... The latest thing I'm doing in meditation, it's always a little different, seems like. This is just my latest take. Maybe, I've skipped, a few steps in here. I mean, I've done a lot on meditation, but I've never really just gone off exactly. Usually I'm following the technique, teaching, this stuff. I do a lot of Alexander technique. I always have, and I've always combined it with meditation, not all the time, but sometimes my meditation just seems like complete Alexander technique, at least for a little while, And Alexander's got everything, man. It's got the breathing. Nobody meditates. Westerners understands how to breathe, how important it is. Alexander understands how to breathe, how important it is. They work at it. You're told to work at it, but you don't work at it. The whole thing is letting go on the out-breath. Everything in life is letting go on the out-breath. Whatever you do, you just let go on the out-breath, whatever you're doing, and then you just go on. You just let go, and then you just, boom, you're there. You act and like a child at play. Like a child sitting there playing with imaginary. Just act. Tai Chi, that's all I did. Let go on the out-breath, boom. Kudo, that's all we do. Most people don't, because they haven't studied Alexander and Kudo together. But if you did, if you read the book, Zen and the Art of Archery, all you care about would be letting go of the out-breath and moving. Well, that's all this is, life. It's a letting go on the out-breath, and then it's a moving. And you don't make a big deal out of the moving. You open yourself in certain ways that you weren't planning to do otherwise. And you make a sound when you breathe out. If you don't make a sound, that is not letting go. Make a little noise. Everybody's afraid to make a noise. In the meditation hall, they just fucking fall over if you make any noise when you breathe out. This is wrong. In the meditation hall, the guy that's over here making noise when he breathes out, he's doing the work. The rest of you are pieces of wood. Tilopa says, do not become a piece of wood. You start out a piece of wood and you end up a piece of wood in meditation. This is not the point. You've missed the point somewhere. The point was to make a noise when you breathe out. If your friend is making that noise, he's doing the work, you're sitting there being a piece of wood. Flip the script. Be like him. Make some noise when you breathe out. If you don't make a noise when you breathe out, you're not letting go on the out breath. That's why we teach in Alexander. The whispered ah. We spend thousands of hours. Because we have this, we are a piece of wood, and we're committed to be a piece of wood, and pieces of wood do not make any noise when they breathe out. They do not do the whispered ah. It's not happening. But if you want to learn something about life, train in letting go on the out breath, which is what we're taught in Buddhist meditation. Nobody does it. They just skip over that like that's not really important. What's really important is masturbation with my thoughts. Really? I wonder why Tilopa keeps talking about resting loosely as the first point. The first point in meditation is resting the body loosely. If you do not rest the body loosely, you cannot see things as they are. You cannot see things as they really are. You can't. So it's really important to do your Alexander and get loose, man. You have to get loose. You have to get natural. Otherwise, you can't see things as they are. You can't tell what's going on. This is a very fluid situation we're in. It's not fixed, you know. If you're fixed, you're not into what's going on. You're against the Dharma, man. You're against the flow. You're clinging. You're grasping. So here's where my meditation's been going lately. You know, in Alexander, number one thing we do is we just sit here and we move our head like 1/28th of an inch one way, and then we move it 1/28th of an inch the other way. Or maybe a little more, you know. So anyway, I mean, I've been doing this forever. On and off the cushion. Just loosen up your head and shoulders, man. That's the main point. Trungpa Rinpoche says the main point is your good head and shoulders. What is good head and shoulders? It's when your head is not in conflict with your shoulders. Everybody's shoulders are just frozen. I don't even know it. The reason you're a piece of wood is so you can freeze yourself and not know it, and not have any knowing quality about what's going on, and be lost in your thoughts. That's the reason you do it. That's what you like. That's the way you prefer it. So anyway, I just sort of back and forth, not very far. I just loosen things up, man. All I care about is loosening things up. That's all I care about. That's the only thing that's important at first stage, is rest the body loosely. Rest the body loosely. Rest the body loosely. That's the first of the 3 words that strike the vital point. So, you know, in Alexander, we kind of take a 360-degree approach to body. You know, a lot of times maybe we're aware a little bit of the front of our body, but we got no awareness of the back. None. It's an unknown world back there, unknown territory. Very stiff a lot of times, back of our back. But in Alexander, you know, like when we breathe, we breathe 360. This goes like this, and this goes like this. So lately, I've just kind of been, you know, it's like doing nothing really, but I just let my spine not be rigid. Number one, but it wants to Alexander says, if you ask the body to do something gently, it will do it. These are the most profound words you can imagine. If you ask the body to do something gently, it will do it. You just ask the body to open up around your spine and expand in 4 directions: front, back, side, side. That's what we do in Alexander. We expand in 4 directions. We get long, and we get wide, and then we get wide, and then we just kind of hang. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do but see things as they are. You attain this resting the body loosely, and then you can begin to see things as they are. You just gain a knowing quality. There's 2 kinds of beings in this world. There's our ordinary beings. Here is the experience of ordinary beings. ordinary beings experience the union of appearance and emptiness suffused with ignorance. Well, that's what you got going with your piece of wood meditation. Your body's completely rigid. You've got complete ignorance going on of what's going on. And that's the point of all that tension, is so you have an unknowing quality. And the result of that is you go from suffering to suffering. Go from one situation of suffering, and things change, and then you're in the next situation of suffering. And things change, and then you're in the next situation of suffering. That's the experience of ordinary beings. It's very, very close to the experience of Buddha. It's quite amazing when you think about how close the ordinary being is to being a Buddha. They don't know it. So here's the experience of a Buddha. Buddha experiences the union of appearance and emptiness suffused with knowing. There's just a knowing quality. What does that mean? It's like, sometimes they talk about taste. One taste. Or smell is often used to convey the meaning of spirituality. There's just this like subtle let's just talk with, we can start with gazing, but I've spoken of gazing until the cows come home and nobody's listening. Go look up gazing. I've spoken and spoken and spoken and spoken and spoken on gazing. And I've talked a lot about hearing. You get up in the morning, you go outside, and there's bird song, man. Ordinarily, we don't even hear it. That's 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 this knowing quality, is all of a sudden you're surrounded by bird song and you know it. And it's a completely different experience. It just informs the whole universe. The whole universe is tuned into this and you're not. But the difference between you not being tuned in and tuned in is like just a slight knowing quality. Or suffused with ignorance. Things as they are. Taste. One taste. I will tell you the most profound experience I ever had in my life. In your life. It was at a Tilopa assembly in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania. Is a hotel. We had about 3 seminaries and 3 Tilopa assemblies there. Named that hotel, kind of famous. This was beyond the beyond. This is kind of the culmination of, many years of how the hell do we do this? We go in there at 8 o'clock for the talk. And the students are like sitting there in meditation. But the dramas, they think the students ought to sit there a while and cook. They think they just ought to cook. Trungpa Rinpoche says that a little bit of the aggression goes away. People can start to hear. Cook. Aggression and the kitchen sink. The aggression of the kitchen sink, man. You go through such experiences. I've been to so many levels, you know. And, you know, there's like these directives. Okay, the directors will be on time this time. We're not having this anymore. Like Jeremy Hayward, let's say. You know, pretty hot, top-notch teacher, knows what he's doing. And he gets in there, you know, okay, we're going to start it. We're going to be in there by 9 o'clock, you know. He can't go at 9 o'clock. He can't go. The drawers won't let him go. The drawers will not let him go. He can't go. The students have to cook and cook and cook and go from being a piece of wood to being a melted puddle of what the hell just happened. So this one was, you know, there was no stopping Trungpa Rinpoche at this one, you know. Like the first talk, we go in there for the 8 o'clock talk. He shows up about 4:30. The parents were particularly dismayed. There were a lot of parents, a lot of kids, a lot of little kids. What are you going to do, man? You know, talk's over at 7 and your kids are just getting up. Your day's just starting. Meanwhile, you've been sitting there since 8, you know, 11 hours cooking. But there was nothing to be done. They just let it go, you know. Parents, you can do what you want, you know. It's your world, you're living in it. You figure it out. Usually I try to turn things around for the parent, but they just let it go. Turning day into night, they called it. So Trungpa Rinpoche would show up about 6:37 for the talk. And we all pretend like it's going to happen at 8, you know, or whatever. Our job is to go in there at 8, you know. Some of us come a little late. Some of us with bad backs can feel like we need to regulate our hours of cooking, but you're cooking, maybe. You're not just, maybe there's a couple of guys laying around. Most everybody's out there cooking. They're cooking all they can handle to cook. The talk started 5:36, about the dawn, and over by 9, and have a nice breakfast. Even the parents get happy around the time the kids are up. I don't know, we're all just happy. The parents are figuring out a way to go to bed because they got to, but whatever. Take turns, you know. One sleeps and the other. You better have 2. You can't be there with 1. They let you bring those kids, but they only if you got 2. So, there was this big transmission for shambhala. You know, everything shambhala. Shambhala is like surrender your eyes, your tongue, and your heart. Your good head and shoulders. You know, surrender your eyes. It's like gazing, but you know, you end up relaxing those eyeballs. The whole thing just becomes so relaxed, and it just becomes like just a universal signaling. All the energy in the universe is being received and transmitted through those eyeballs that are so relaxed. It's beyond sight, you know. Sight, fine, but forget sight. It's beyond sight. That's what gazing is. It's beyond. Sight's fine, but it's beyond sight. That's really interesting. A blind man who can see. So you surrender your eyes, and then you surrender your tongue. Usually like we're We don't breathe because our mouth is like lockjawed, and we're so tense. We couldn't breathe. If they had a gun to our head, we couldn't breathe. Possible, but if you meditate a long time, your mouth, your jaw will unwire a little bit, maybe a lot, and then your tongue becomes this magical instrument. There's a couple of ways you can go with it. You can stick it right, just barely touch the teeth when they come together. You can stick it right there, just like a vajra. Your whole head is like a vajra, and that tongue is like the point of that vajra. That's kind of the Zen way. It's a very good way. How you place that tongue in meditation becomes, extraordinary. Just getting it relaxed. Getting that tongue relaxed in meditation is like big advanced stuff. But why not? You just place your tongue. Then, the Tibetans, they got a little different system. It's like a lotus petal. You touch the tongue, you touch the tip of the tongue between the top of the teeth and right at the palate. But then the tongue does this lotus petal thing. It goes, and that's very powerful. That's more of a Dzogchen thing, really. That one's more of a Zen thing. Both are good. Both are just barely touching. The tongue gets so relaxed, it's beyond belief. Your tongue has to be so relaxed to do either one of those well. Who cares which one you choose? I personally like to go with the Dzogchen one, man. There's something about that. You're like Padmasambhava there, sitting on that lotus in the middle of that lake in Ludhiana. It's happening, baby. It's happening. It is happening. That lotus is in full bloom. It's just barely touching it. Again, the energy of the universe is just, it's unbelievable. And, you begin to produce saliva, It's kind of a sign of getting relaxed. Get relaxed, you got saliva pouring. Really, if you're doing it right, it's drooling down your face and you begin to look like an idiot. When you see the idiot with drool coming down his face, he's reached a very high stage. You can't keep that in your mouth anymore. You're a real happy boy. And then your heart. Might be the most difficult one. But I think you know it, but you don't get your eyes relaxed, closed circuit. You don't get your tongue relaxed, it's a closed circuit. But you open this, surrender. It's surrender. Those are not your eyes anymore. They belong to the Rigdon King. They are not your eyes anymore. They belong to Padmasambhava. They belong to your guru. Your guru. That is not your tongue anymore, baby. You've surrendered it. It belongs to the Dharma. It belongs to the noble beings that have gone before and shown the way and continue to show us the way. In your heart. I think we're going to split it up. 30 minutes, it's my new theory of how long these should go. If you get them too long, you have all kind of trouble loading them up. Out of space. Out of storage space.